business owners and executives from around the Valley. This is Business Leaders with Lance Cardoza.
Welcome everybody to Business Leaders here on KMPH Fox 26. My name is Lance Cardoza. Every Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. I bring you business leaders throughout the Valley and abroad. And this organization I'm pretty passionate about. And this is AMVETS, Department of California. And I have the executive director on the end of the desk here, good friend Smokey Rickerd. Thank you for being on the program.
Thank you for offering, and thank you for asking us to be here.
And new incoming commander, and actually through the summer you've served the commander of Ross Smith. And Ross, thank you for being on the program as well.
Thank you so much for having us. It's both a privilege and a pleasure to be here.
And Ross, I've noticed in every encounter and meeting you, there's a definite pride that you carry as being the commander of the Department of California of AMVETS. And where does that pride come from?
I think it's an upbringing. I think I'm a very passionate man, Lance, and I think that passion goes into anything that I do. If I believe in something, I'm going to put my all into it. And when you're dealing with the lives of veterans, you can put nothing but your all into that situation.
Absolutely. And Smokey, I feel the same thing with you too. And that I feel like you're the uncle that we all lean on and talk to, and the stories and the life that you lived in the military as well. There's so many stories with AMVETS members, and every time I get around an AMVET member, there's a little bit of history that's brought to the table. Some good, some bad, some hard to deal with. But that's why AMVETS is there also too. It's a brotherhood and a sisterhood, if you will.
Yes.
Right, Smoke?
Yes. That's one thing about AMVETS, I think. I tell the story about how veterans can kid each other, but if you go outside and somebody else that's never been, or the rite of passage because they weren't a military person, they start saying something, you'll see those veterans stick together, no matter if they were Marines or Navy or Army or Air Force, Coast Guards, they will stick together, and it's a brotherhood. And I know you've heard this word used before, this phrase, brotherhood. It is a brotherhood, it is a rite of passage, because we did go forward, we did stick together no matter what. And during the time of war or during the time of peace, we're always there for each other. Mm-hmm. And that's, everybody can relate to that when we're in AMVETS. AMVETS relates to that. And I think that is the biggest thing, that we're on the same team. Because
I noticed you'll rib each other about one being the Navy or this one is in the Army.
Yes,
and you have some great ribbon going on, but there's this love, this passion of this brotherhood, this sisterhood. And I noticed at your convention, I had an opportunity to be there at the convention, and I saw the veterans, the women's veterans, talk about passion, talk about a voice. And they had some strong voices in that room, but amazing stories. And yes, a lot of times you don't get to hear those stories. And to be able to see that, Ross, that's something very important to you as a commander, I know.
It is.
And I know you have a lot of women veterans and vet members.
Yes, we do, and we are blessed and fortunate to have those members, because in today's military, let's compare today's military with the military of 1970. In 1970, 1% of the population of our active duty members were female. Today, that number exceeds 15%. So what we've figured out between the two is that the services that are provided to women have not gone up as quickly as women joining the armed services. And that's something that has to and must change in the future. Women have certain sets of problems that need to be dealt with by this government, by the VA system. And they are many a time, but there also are many women who are left out in the cold, don't know what's available to them. And that's what we're here to show them.
And Smokey, would you say this too? Because veterans are proud, very proud. And a lot of times they don't want a handout, but with AMVETS and organizations, that's a hand up.
Exactly. I would just say that it is a hand up. It's not a handout, because we care for our own.
Yeah.
And the whole premise and the whole mantra for AMVETS, American Veterans, is committed to serve those who served. And so we're there to be able to help out no matter what, if it's from homelessness to being needing help or whatever the case may be. We're there for them. And I would say you were just speaking about the women. When the women came in, there was a lot of discussion about how, let's say, one of the issues was being pilots, and can they be combat pilots? I could say that I was one of the first in the Strategic Air Command training that I was one of the first ones to have women to train, and I had a couple of them. I tell you what, they could do it, and they had their mind. As a matter of fact, a lot of things came easy to them. Some things they had a little bit of a challenge to, but when you showed them a little bit of technique and stuff like that, they were able to fly those airplanes as well as anyone. So they've come a long ways, if you want to call it that. But I tell you what, the camaraderie, the passion, they still have it, and they still want it, and they still love the military, and they still love what they can do for the veterans of even that's before them.
Yeah.
They're there helping out, and we are there to help out. And I can't say that with any more passion than that about AMVETS.
Commander Ross, young veterans today, we saw it during the era of Vietnam with Persian Gulf. You have young veterans today, probably with more issues, if you will, challenges, mental challenges, the pressure of those wars and everything that's been going on. What is AMVETS sort of a safe place, a place to be able to share and be able to help each other? Give the viewers at home here on Business Leaders what AMVETS is all about.
Thank you. I appreciate that question, Lance, because it's so very important with what this organization is about. Since the War on Terror started, post 9/11, you've had men and women who have done multiple tours in overseas, either in Afghanistan and or Iraq, have finished their tours of duty, have come home discharged, and have really had some problems getting back into a civilian way of life. With the ages of these veterans coming out, most of them do start families and want to stay within the confinements of that family situation. What hasn't been talked about is many of these veterans suffer from PTSD. They suffer from TBI, traumatic brain injury, that can be detected sometimes many years later. The same thing with PTSD. So the issues that some of these veterans have that are coming home aren't even at the forefront yet. We need to make sure that they know that we are here for them when they are ready, if and when they have any issues. But that's not what AMVETS is all about either. AMVETS is about a veteran joining this organization to help another human being. That is what AMVETS is about.
And we're going to talk more about that. We're also going to talk about where AMVETS can find assistance too, and find out how you can be a part of AMVETS. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Business owners and executives from around the Valley. This is Business Leaders with Lance Cardoza.
Welcome back, everybody. The Business Leaders right here on KMPH Fox 26 every Tuesday morning at 11 o'clock. And you can watch past episodes of Business Leaders by going to businessleaders.tv. My guest today in the first segment, and I'm very proud and excited to have both of you on here. When I get in the room with a bunch of AMVET members, I feel this inept feeling of, wow, these people fought for my right to be on television today. These people fought for my right to be able to raise a family and be able to live here in America and go about my day safe. And Smokey, the stories I've heard and other people talking about it, you weren't just a pilot. You flew very many missions and you lost a lot of friends through the process.
Yes.
And coming home from Vietnam, that was very hard because your family was taunted and not embraced like a veteran coming home today. So that concerned you and the well-being of veterans still out there struggling with
Absolutely, absolutely. No, what you said is so true, and I think that's the difference. And I'm going to say that Vietnam, you know, I wish we could turn back the clock and have everybody understand what it was like and what it was meant and what we did over there. But I think a lot of the stuff that came through the TVs and the media and stuff like that really painted really a sad picture for the veterans over there, and then also when we came home. And I think we laid the groundwork so that it would never happen again, how veterans were retreated or how receptive back they were into our society here in the nation because of that, because it was really terrible. I remember coming back from Vietnam, and what was said when we got off the airplane was, go into the terminal and change your clothes out of your military clothing and put civilian clothes on. And so we started in there, and I will say that I walked in there and I started to change, and I said, no, I'm not going to change. I'm wearing my blues now, and I fought for this, and I believe in it, and I am not disgusted, I am not upset, I am who I am, and I did it for my country. And so I picked my wife up, who I hadn't seen, my new son that I hadn't seen, and and then we went on, and then we went into, let's say, the Bay Area for a night to get back together. And there was a lot of calling and a lot of people giving me a bad time. Okay, we got over that. And then when I found out after coming home, my wife was taunted. My wife had people coming to the door and saying, you know what your husband was doing over there? And with my little daughter standing there. And so finally it got to the point, it was so bad of what was being written on the doors and stuff like that, she had to move. And this was within this community. And so at that particular time, we continued on this military, and then I was in Desert Storm, and it was completely different. I know from our squadron, I was a squadron commander at that time, I knew it was going to be different. We did things different. We had the family involved when they took off. We had the families involved when they came home. And we made the community more involved, what was going on too, up there in Washington. So I think we led the way, and I hope that we never see a time like we did back in the 70s when veterans come home and feel disgraced because of what they did for serving their country.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of the veterans like yourself that haven't got over that.
No, they haven't.
And haven't processed that and trying to figure out. And that's one great place with AMVETS and their members, is a place to talk about that with like-minded people that have experienced that, can understand what you came from. But there's some of them that get in a dark place and they can't get out of that. And Ross, I know with the Veterans Crisis Line, is there for people like that are in that position, or a veteran that you know, or a veteran at home that is struggling with that. There's a number that we're putting on the screen right now to be there for that veteran, that will have that on for them to call. And what is that number, Ross, and to where people could call and be able to get help?
Thank you, Lance, for that question. The number is 1-800-273-8255. When you pick up this phone to call for help, the prompt will have you press 1. This is a life-saving number for a number of veterans. We do not know when they need help, what time of the day or night. Sometimes they have no one to reach out to. With this number, there is always somebody there, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, if for no other reason, to listen.
At the convention, it was said that 22 veterans a day, and maybe during the pandemic, I'm sure those numbers are going to change. That I'm sure a lot of veterans really felt trapped.
Yes.
And felt alone sometimes through that process because they couldn't get together. And they needed those brothers and sisters to be able to wrap their arms around and talk to. So I'm sure that number from 22 veteran suicides a day have gone up. So this number, again, that we'll continue to keep having on the screen here, that a veteran can call and be able to get some help and be able to talk to somebody. But it's a crisis in our country.
You know, one thing, Lance, also what Ross was just saying, besides the veteran, the other thing too is you've got families there. You've got a wife. Yeah. If she sees her husband in crisis, she can call that line. And the other thing too, I want to throw it out to, and I love our law enforcement and our first responders. If they have a problem, if the wife calls or a family member calls and let the 911 and let them know that their husband, who is a Vietnam or a war veteran, is having problems, they will get somebody out there to help out, and then they will wind up helping them and get the treatment too. So you don't have to. That's for both husband and wife.
Husband and wife for that family unit. Don't go away. We got more business leaders coming up, but that number is down below. Make sure you call that number. Like you said, if you're the significant other that can make that phone call when you see that situation happening. We'll be right back with more business leaders. Don't go away.
Business owners and executives from around the valley. This is Business Leaders with Lance Cardoza.
Welcome back, everybody, to Business Leaders. Every Tuesday morning, 11 a.m., I welcome you to join me right here on KMPH Fox 26, sitting with Commander Ross Smith and also the Executive Director of the AMVETS Department of California, Smokey Rickerd, and just passionate about people that have served our country, that a lot of times we don't get to hear those stories and know what they've gone through. And a lot of times you got to put yourself in someone else's shoes to understand what they've gone through. And I can't remotely even, my mom always said that, put yourself in their shoes, kid. Walk in their shoes to understand. But I can't remotely even think about walking in Smokey's shoes or in Ross's shoes. I can't even think about that. And I just wholeheartedly respect you and your service to our country, and those veterans that are home watching Business Leaders. This is to you, that I respect our veterans, and I'm sad when I see a veteran that is on the street, or a veteran that's hurting, and a veteran's looking for help. And before the break, we were talking about the Veterans Crisis Line, or Military Crisis Line. They could be serving right now and struggling with a mental health issue or a dark moment that they're trying to get through. And we were talking about, could be anybody in the family unit to make that phone call.
That's absolutely true, Lance. In this situation, it doesn't have to be the veteran themselves, because oftentimes that veteran is not capable of making that call. Mm-hmm. And when you have the family unit around you, not only the spouse, as Edie Rickerd was talking about, but there might be children, teenagers in the home that know a lot more than we give them credit for. Yeah. And if they understand too that if mom or dad are in a bad place, they have a number to call to get help for their parents and make sure the right thing happens.
Absolutely, and that phone number is on the screen below, where you can call that number. You hit the prompt and the one, and then you're able to get help. But Smokey, you were also saying that they can call you. They can talk to you personally and call the office.
Yeah, anybody. What I would say is, if a person's in crisis, you'd like to talk to maybe another veteran who was there, or who's been there, or who's been in a situation like that, which I can identify with. And please, if you have a problem, or if you want to talk, I'll be more than happy to listen to it. And you can call my office, which is 559-688-3407, and ask for me, Smokey Rickerd, and I'll be more than happy to be able to talk to you. And let's get it to the point where, hey, at least talk it out. I'm a great listener. I really am. So please call me if you have a problem, and then we'll go from there.
So young veterans getting involved is a very important thing. A lot of times they come out of the military and they don't realize what AMVETS can do for them and what they can do for other veterans also too. What was it for you, Ross, when you got out of the military that made you want to become a member? Was there a certain person?
There was a certain person, Lance, but my story is the opposite of Smokey's, and this is very important for your viewers. AMVETS is not restricted to just combat veterans. AMVETS is the most inclusive veteran service organization in this country. By inclusive, I mean for membership, all you need is an honorable discharge from any component of the services, including National Guard and Reserve components. AMVETS allows people with honorable discharges to come in and give of themselves to help other people. So while we get so many of the great stories from our heroes, including this man sitting to my right, we also get people that didn't get the opportunity or weren't in the position to be overseas. That doesn't mean that they don't want to help. They do want to help. They want to give back to their fellow soldiers, sailors, airmen, as much as they possibly can. That's what makes AMVETS so much different than any other veteran service organization. We're not clamored down to one group. We are a big group of brothers and sisters who care about the well-being of one another.
And if you're a veteran at home, or you know a veteran, and you think this is a great opportunity for them to get involved, they can call your office, Smokey. And give that phone number one more time. You gave that earlier, Smokey.
It's 559-688-3407.
And I call you by your first name because, like I told people, it's like Uncle Smokey. You know,
There you go.
Once you
There
get
you
to
go.
know you,
Hey.
we did a event together when I first met you, and I was working with the Fresno Grizzlies at the time, and still doing stuff with the Fresno Grizzlies, and Derek Frank's there. But he said, Derek said, can you go check out this committee that is getting ready to do a Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans event here at the ballpark, and I want to make sure it's done with utmost class, respect to veterans, and I want it done right. So can you go check on them and see what they're doing? And that's what it was. So I was espionage. I was being sent in to check it out. And it was in the back room at Atlanta Foods with Tim Patendis, and I fell in love with Tim that night. But the group of camaraderie and the passion behind that, and Denise and everybody else, former Commander Black, the event was amazing.
We're still
Truly
very close. That group
amazing.
is still very close, and you're included in that group. We're still very close.
Just an amazing event, Ross, and it just it moves me still today to see that, and so many veterans that it just changed their life. That's all the time we have. Thank you so much for being on my program. And that number below, make sure if you have a veteran that's in need that they call that number. We'll talk to you next week right here on KMPH Fox 26 for another edition of Business Leaders.